I have a guest today who is someone who has walked an extraordinary path from struggling childhood to disillusioned corporate employee to becoming a globally renowned spiritual leader and life-changing mentor. Ania Halama's origin story reads like a hero's journey full of profound challenges and transformations. Born in Poland, she emigrated to the United States with her family at age 3, settling in the Polish community of Chicago. Growing up in poverty, Ania witnessed her parents' relentless work ethic firsthand as they took any job available just to keep the family afloat. Then at age 10, Ania's world was shattered when her father suffered a devastating workplace injury that left him permanently disabled. Forced to take on responsibilities far beyond her years, she spent her childhood translating legal documents, providing massage therapy, and essentially becoming the family's rock, holding everything together. And as if that wasn't tumultuous enough, Anya later discovered that for years her father had been lying to her and siphoning away money under false pretenses, an absolute betrayal that ruptured the family even further. It would have been so easy for Anya to become yet another cycle breaker, mired in negativity and anger and a victim's mindset. But instead, she found the strength to forgive, let go of resentment, and initiate a journey of intense personal growth and spiritual awakening. And today, Anya is a spiritual powerhouse who helps thousands align with prosperity and their highest potential through modalities like plant medicine facilitation, energy healing, intuitive coaching, and her best-selling books like Rebel's Guide to Spirituality. So please join me in welcoming a true inspiration and a beacon of radical self-discovery, Ania Halama. Ania, welcome to the Transcendent Minds Podcast.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you paint such a vivid picture of your childhood as the daughter of Polish immigrants in Chicago. And from the simple daily lunches of pate sandwiches to the embarrassment of having to shop at discount grocery stores due to your family's financial constraints, you provide a window into the struggles and sacrifices made by your hardworking parents. How did growing up with such modest means and watching your parents' tireless work ethic impact your fundamental values and worldview from an early age? That's the first part of the question. And did it instill a practical resilience or determination in you that laid the groundwork for your entrepreneurial spirit?
Yes and yes. So to all of that, growing up very frugal, lots of scarcity, like shopping at discount centers, like that's all I knew growing up. That's all my parents knew growing up. So once I started learning about manifestation, the law of attraction, we can all be abundant, ask, believe, receive. I'm like, I don't know if this is real. Yes, I'm asking, but it's not happening. It's not working for me. It hasn't been until the last few years where I really started working on the subconscious mind, be like, okay, I have to go and do all of this reprogramming that I've been taught for such a long time.
Mm.
Scarcity, lack. No one likes their job. Everyone is miserable in their job. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. All these things that I heard and so many other people have heard as well for such a long time. I had to do so much reprogramming around that so I can, okay, this is what I actually believe. Because 90% of us is our subconscious mind, where only 5-10% of us is our actual conscious mind. And everything from the ages of 0 to 7, 14, if I'm really being generous, that is all programming from society, from your parents, from what you learned as a child, and things you might not even realize. It's literally in your subconscious. You're like, okay, yeah, maybe I grew up and my family had a lot of money, and that's what I believe. Okay, it's easy to make money, but maybe it's their relationship with money that you might have not even realized, something deep in your subconscious. And that's what I really had to start reprogramming. Growing up caused me lots and lots of like pain of me trying to like be an entrepreneur, me trying to manifest. And I was still hustling for a long time. I was still working for a long time. Yes, resilient as heck. I was very resilient, but I was doing so much more than I should have. And we always hear, oh, like money's energy, you can attract it. Yes, it is great, but there's so much more to that. It goes in so deep into like my deep subconscious programming because I grew up very frugal. We didn't have a lot of money. And there was a lot of that untangling to do, like peeling of that onion, just like deep layers and layers that we had to undo because it's all in the subconscious.
When you start on that journey by having a conversation with your subconscious mind and start to look at the deep programming, most people go through life like a ball of string with knots in it, and they untie one knot and then they find another knot, and then they search for someone to help them figure out what tied the knot in the first place, because that's what they need to understand for themselves. They need to understand, instead of trying to undo one knot and then you find another knot, what tied that knot in the first place? When you are able to understand that things come into your conscious mind, and we know the brain either deletes, distorts, or generalizes, because you can't take on 20, 30, 80,000 impressions every day. But if you don't neutralize them in the semi-conscious, which is like your filing cabinet, it gets expedited into the unconscious. And your unconscious, as you alluded to, is really powerful, and it's running the show 95% of the time. I want to delve a little bit more into your younger years, because the accidental injury that left your father permanently disabled when you were just 10 years old forced you to take overwhelming responsibilities far too soon, from the massage therapy to translating legal documents. And you powerfully recount having your childhood robbed from you overnight. Can you vividly walk me through the tempest of emotions you grappled with in these first few years after the accident?
Yeah, of course. I was 10 years old. I didn't know what emotions really were at that time. I remember just seeing my father's pain, which caused me so much pain.
Mm.
Countless nights, like he was in so much pain and so much agony because he used to be a welder and he was lifting a sheet of metal and the sheet of metal fell and it ripped his tendons in his arm, which completely ripped, and he has no tendons in his arm. Like he has an arm, it's not amputated, but he has no movement in it and it's really painful. And so I just remember like nights on end, just seeing so much pain and so much agony in him. And that caused me so much pain and agony because we can't help it. If someone's in pain, you're like, I feel for you. I feel the pain in you, especially if it's someone that we love and we're connected with. Like I felt all of his pain, and me having to massage his arm, me having to give him medicine whenever he needed some like antibiotics or whatever he needed. I just felt so much pain and sorrow in myself. And then moving on, I felt, okay, all of my friends are outside playing and I'm here translating legal documents. Or all of my friends are going to a sleepover and I can't because my father's in pain and I need to take care of him. I started getting a little bit of a resentment towards him a little bit later on. Also, this lasted 20 years and he's still not better. It's been 20 years at this point. Now I'm in my 30s and he's still not fully better, but he decided to take the victim road and play the victim instead of going down, okay, I can maybe look at holistic paths. Like I'm a holistic healer now. I can help him in so many different ways, but he chooses to still be the victim and let that accident ruin his life and continue to ruin his life versus trying different modalities and doing different things. After a couple of years, I fell into resentment, feeling like my childhood got taken away from me, got robbed from me, as you were saying, Peter, because I saw all of my friends doing all of these things. And again, I was 10 years old. I had no mind to think, okay, yes, this is me actually helping. This is a good thing. I was 10 years old. I just wanted to be a child and watch cartoons and play all the time. But
How did you persevere through that psychological turmoil while just a child yourself?
yeah, so when it all happened, I knew that I needed to be quote unquote the man of the house. I was the oldest child. I have a younger sister, and I needed to be quote unquote exactly the man of the house. Okay, one of our incomes got robbed from us. We didn't have an income. It was only my mom's income that was being brought, and she worked at a factory. She didn't make a lot of money either. I knew that I had to start doing something to help support the family and bond it together pretty much as I could. Once I got into high school, my sophomore year of high school, I was like, okay, I'm really artsy. I know that I like art. I took a graphic design class. I was like, okay, I really enjoy this. And I was like 14 at this time, 14, 15, which is a couple years after it's happened. And I was like, okay, graphic design, this is what I want to do. So I'm in high school. I go to my counselors. Okay, what can I do to graduate or as early as possible? I ended up graduating my junior year of high school. I didn't have a senior year. I graduated early, went to university right away. I graduated with my first bachelor's at 19 years old because I needed to be making money and to help my family as much as I could because money was the big thing in our family that was like ripping our family apart. We didn't have money for my dad's medical stuff. We didn't have money to feed our family. And especially now that it was only my mother that was making money, I had a ton of wounds around money, especially because I had to step into that father figure role as another caretaker in my family and be the man of the house of sorts. Like I had to bring in a lot of money. So there was lots of wounds around that, lots of unprogramming that had to be done.
It's interesting because now I see you as a lady who is not really speaking from your wounds, you're speaking from your gifts. Because when you encounter people, especially clients, I know it from in a coaching context, when you're listening to them, they're usually speaking from their wounds. And that is part of the victim mentality because people get a lot of mileage out of being a victim. And we all know the antidote to being a victim is to be a creator and not a victim. So you become a victor, not a victim. But it is a recruitment agency because this is where sympathy comes in. It's like it wants to corral people to go, oh, poor you. That's terrible. But things will get better. No, they
And don't get me
won't.
wrong, I played the victim for a long
Yeah.
time as well. Of course, like when it all happened, I did play the victim. It's like to a point, like I hated my dad. I didn't talk to my dad for 5 years. I didn't believe in God. Like, God, if you are real, why did all this crap happen? Why did all this stuff happen into my life? To a point, like the reason that I started traveling and left America, left corporate America, is I wanted to be as far away from my dad. And I was so sick, just wanted to be as far away from him, his energy, and toxic environment. I was playing the victim in that role. Like, get me as far away as possible. I'm going to go on the other side of the world, go to Thailand, and maybe things will get better. I was looking for that outside validation. Oh, I'll be happy when I leave. I'll be happy. Where instead, it was all came down to me healing my inner work. And it wasn't until, yes, when I actually left and took myself out of the toxic environment, then I started healing. I was started looking at the wounds and be like, you know what? It's not actually them. It's actually me. I'm the problem here. I need to work on me first. And then my anxiety went away, my depression went away, I was sleeping better. And then slowly and slowly, I started fixing the relationship with my father as well. I forgave him, and I forgave myself as well, because I played a big role in this. I ended up forgiving myself.
That's beautiful. The first thing is that when you do get away from it, you're not really getting away from it because you're
No.
carrying it within yourself. When people say, I want to get away from it all, you can't really get away from it all. But what you can do is by changing the environment that you're in, the heart of the matter can be seen more clearly from afar than when you're in it. You moved out of blame and avoidance, victim, into truth and responsibility. And that's a huge distinction to make. Obviously, that means you have to take action. You have to do something about it. You became trapped in the conventional corporate grind, living from paycheck to paycheck, despite having this steady job, but something inside of you yearned for more freedom, more purpose, more fulfillment. And this hunger for an enriched life ultimately drove you to take what can be a terrifying leap into entrepreneurship. Can you vividly paint a picture of where you were in your life at that pivotal moment when you decided to go, that's it, I've had enough, I'm quitting this job? What were the fears and doubts swirling in your mind? And what was the catalyst that finally gave you the courage to walk away from security towards uncertainty?
For me, it was my health mostly. For an entire decade, I was very sick, anxiety, depression, insomnia. I was going blind. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I couldn't eat any food. I was allergic to everything. I was going to the bathroom once a month. I was very sick for an entire decade. And I was doing everything Western medicine, trying different aspects, going to different specialists, and nothing was working. And I was dating a guy at the time, and he's like, all right, if Western medicine's not working, his dad was an Eastern medicine practitioner. He's like, why don't you go to my dad, see if anything like helps, if it works. So I go to him and did a bunch of tests, was put on a bunch of supplements, and of course it didn't work. I didn't have that mind-body connection. Yes, this is going to work. That belief in it. And I came to a point in my job where I was butting heads with my manager at the time a lot, and there was no more room for me to climb the corporate ladder in that position. So I can either look for a new job or do something crazy. My health was horrible. I couldn't climb this corporate ladder here anymore. I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do something crazy. Like, I'm in my early 20s right now. I don't have any kids. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? Like, I choose me for the first time. Like, I choose me, not helping my father, not climbing the ladder, not whatever. I'm choosing me. And I've always wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted freedom. I wanted just to see what else is out there. So I chose me. One day I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Walked into my manager's office, quit my job. Within 2 weeks of me putting in my 2 weeks notice, I sold my car, put everything in storage, sold my apartment, and bought a one-way ticket to Thailand and just left. And I've been on that one-way ticket ever since. It's been like 8.5, almost 9 years, and I'm still traveling. Granted, I do have a home base now. I live in Medellin, Colombia. This is home for me, but I would have never found this place if I didn't take that leap of faith.
That's fascinating. Your path has been one of intense personal transformation and spiritual awakening, from learning ancient healing modalities to facilitating sacred plant medicine ceremonies. You've immersed yourself in realms that many people can scarcely fathom, yet you somehow remain so remarkably grounded and relatable. How have these personal experiences shaped your agency and your philosophy on life and your perspective on your human existence? What
Mm.
insights from your spiritual explorations have been most meaningful to you in your evolution on your journey?
I love that question. So I'm jumping around a little bit. So astrology
Fine.
wise, I have a lot of Leo. Like, I have a Leo sun, Leo rising, and then a Virgo moon. So my friends always make fun of me. They're like, oh, fire and earth, like two very different, but like you have much fire, you have all this energy, but you're so grounded. It makes no sense. Which I love. Fire and earth. Yes, I'm very grounded into who I am as a person, but a lot of that is because of all of these ancient teachings, sitting with the medicine for so long. And for me, ayahuasca is my number one medicine. It is my all-time favorite, and it's completely changed the trajectory of my life and the person that I am today. It has completely saved my life. And there's been many of experiences where I've learned so much, where I've healed so much, where I give literally just everything to having me sat with this medicine, because it is so like completely changing who I am and my beliefs, what I trust in, what I believe in, what I know my potential is, what I can see much further. So much healing. And ever since like the first time that I drank ayahuasca, and I recently just came back from the jungle maybe 3 months ago, where I was getting initiated into an ayahuasca tribe. I was telling Peter right before this call, getting initiated into a tribe so I can facilitate and serve the medicine as well, because I want to help other people heal. And ayahuasca is not for everyone. Do your due diligence, like reach out to me if you have any questions. It is definitely not for everyone. And I've seen so many cases where it's not for everyone, but it is such a beautiful beautiful healer in ways that you can. We say that it's like sitting with ayahuasca in one session is 20 years of therapy. You really going into kind of what you were saying, like, what is the root cause of that knot in the yarn? Instead of just like putting a band-aid over something, like really getting into the what is the root cause of everything. For me, ever since I sat with the medicine for the first time, like my intention was clarity the first time. Clarity around why things happened with my father, why I'm so sick, why my life turned out the way that it turned out, just clarity. And she, and I say she as the spirit of this plant is, there's no gender to it. Plants are plants. But for me, it always comes in as a female spirit.
The earth is
Yes,
our mother,
correct.
and she can become importantly pregnant with things because you can put a seed in the ground and it blooms, it flowers, it yields. So there is the feminine dynamic to that planetary influence.
I agree. For me, ayahuasca always comes in as a female spirit. There's other
Mm,
plants that come in for me as masculine spirits.
sure.
But also some tribes, like ayahuasca to them is masculine, and other tribes, ayahuasca to them is feminine. For me, it's always been a female spirit.
You've got two forces at play because you're two-thirds feminine, but one-third masculine. I'm
Mhm.
two-thirds masculine and one-third feminine because do we not look for the higher parts in each other?
Yeah.
My feminine is looking for the masculine. That is a completion that starts to happen. I'm not talking about soulmates and all that kind of stuff. I'm really talking about the masculine feminine dynamics. And they're both inside of those plants
Yes.
because one is more gravitational and may ground you, and the other is radiational. So the gravitational aspect is more of the feminine because it's grounding, but the radiational aspect is more masculine because it's
Mhm.
laser like. It's outward, it's an emanating force.
And we all have masculine and feminine within ourselves, like the
Yeah,
masculine, and we need both of them. The
sure.
point is to find that balance between all of that. I can't be an entrepreneur and be like, la di da da, I'm just gonna float around all day and allow things to come to me. No, like I need to go out there, talk to people. And that's the masculine. The masculine is the go-getter. Like I
Yeah,
need that, but I also need the feminine. I need the flow and allow things to come to me as well. And we all have it within ourselves. The point is to just find that balance within yourself.
sure.
Like what and know when each one of them has to come out in what situation. If you're buying a house, you might need your masculine. If you're like drawing a picture, you might need your feminine.
It's embodying and embracing both of those dynamics and seeing that because to me they're not opposite, they're adjacent.
Mm.
Right, they're an adjacency, the masculine and feminine. The way we're inculcated in our culture is that that's an opposite. To me, the feminine is opposite to the masculine. If you look at the yin and yang, they intertwine. For me, it's more about an adjacency and understanding the dynamics of that adjacency in oneself. For me, I am much more feminine in my application to things like podcasting or writing, but I'm much more masculine if I'm negotiating something
Oh yeah.
in business. I'm very strategic. For me as a man, it's about understanding more about my intuition. What is that voice that's whispering in my ear and making a vibration in my mind? And then how can I caress it and invite it so that I actually start to listen to it? How do I feel about my body? How do I feel about my mind? So it's all those things.
We went off on a tangent. I don't even remember what we were talking
Yeah.
about.
As an entrepreneur and founder of Expansion Alchemy, and we'll talk about that a bit later on, but you've had to marry your spiritual mission with sound business acumen. This is what we're talking about, really. And
Yeah.
building a company, especially in the personal growth space, requires equal parts of heart and hustle. You've managed to maintain a high level of success while staying true to your values. What has been some of the biggest challenges you faced in scaling your vision into a viable business model? And how do you remain centered and resist compromising your integrity when profit motives could so easily derail an endeavor like yours?
knowing my worth and also living fully in my authenticity, knowing what our values are, what we stand for, and fully embodying those. I'm not like tested pretty much of sorts and to settle of sorts. I know fully what my authenticity is. I know fully what Expansion Alchemy stands for, what we believe in, and I'm not going to give into something crazy that we don't fully need or deserve because the money is there. That's not why we're doing this. We're here to truly help people in a way that they might not have the tools. So with Expansion Alchemy, we reach out to corporations as a mental wellness benefit for employees. And the reason we're doing that is because I've been there. If I had the tools when I was so stressed in corporate America, I would still probably be in corporate America. Thankfully, that's not my path anymore. My path is to help corporate America in that way now. But I know so many people still struggle with mental health issues and personal development and growth because they don't have the tools in corporate America. They don't know where to even start looking for the tools. So why not provide them tools? Okay, I'm stressed at work. How can I fix this? I'm stressed at home. Like what you're working on at work translates directly back at home into your relationships with your partners, with your children, with your teammates, with your coworkers. And you can use all of these tools in the same exact way. So we want to help them with all of these tools. And we have 12 different teachers on staff, each giving one live class a month in personal development, health, relationships, spirituality, and financial wealth, because one is linked to the other. I think of this as like the wheel of life, and I'm sure most of you have seen the wheel of life. It's a circle with 5 different quadrants and different angles, and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Which one is off? That's the one you have to work on. They all should be balanced in one way or another. Your health is directly related to your relationship, directly related to your spirituality, your life at home, directly related to your financial wealth. So how can we balance all of them? And we have the right amount of teachers to evenly distribute all of that so we can create this beautiful quadrant of life.
It's being in right relationship to all those things, because I know many people talk about a work-life balance, and I tend to have a bit of an issue with that. And I prefer to reframe it to work-life relationship, because everything is a relationship, whether it's finance, personal growth, interrelationships or intra-relationships. All of those things is about how you relate, and balance is quite hard to achieve. When I look at things in nature, nothing's in total balance. It's a chaotic balance in a way,
It's so
um,
beautiful.
right? But there's a coherence that comes out of chaos that gives a balance, because everything is in right relationship to each other. Soil, the plant, the sun, the moon, the planet, they're all in right relationship, whereas we're not in right relationship with ourselves. And we've got to strike that balance and have the ability to be self-directed, which is what part of personal growth is about. I was reading your book, so I was intrigued by the title, and the opening lines immediately plunged me into profound existential questions, feelings of being lost, not belonging, a deep yearning for more from life. And you make it very clear that your book, Rebel Spirituality, is not just another self-help tome, but a guide to actively manifesting the life you truly want through spiritual awakening. What was the catalyst or turning point in your own life that sparked you to seriously pursue this path of self-discovery and conscious manifestation? Was there a particular rock bottom moment where you realized that your life needed a seismic shift?
My book came about during COVID, actually. And it's not that I needed like a cosmic shift at that moment. It's just some people decided to spend COVID like going deep into the work, and some people decided to play video games all day. For me, it was like I deep dove, like I was meditating 6, 7 times a day. And one of my awakenings that I had was during COVID, because I was constantly up leveling, doing meditation, sitting in meditation, learning. I did my Reiki certificate during COVID. I learned angel healing. I learned so many different things because I was like, I have all day to do stuff, might as well be productive. And the way that the book came about actually was I just kept meditating. And every time I meditated, I kept hearing the message right. I was like, what do you want me to write? Universe, I was getting frustrated with God, the universe. I was like, I don't understand. What do you want me to write? Share your story. Tell us a little, share more. I'm not a writer, social media post, like a blog post, maybe. I don't know. And finally, I was on a massage table in pleasure, in my feminine, in receiving. And I heard Rebel's Guide to Spirituality. And I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm writing a book. All right. While that message came to me, I was also going through an awakening. So it came through so strong that this is exactly what I needed to do. It's not that it was a rock bottom for me, but the message came in so strong. I know that I can help people with this message. It's a guide. And that's the way that I look at the work that I do right now as well. I don't consider myself as a coach. I consider myself as a mentor. I am teaching from experiences, from what I've been through. And then at the end of each chapter, I have practical tools that you can start implementing into your own life. There's an EFT tappings, there's meditations, there's a Reiki healing at the end of every single chapter. So yes, these are my lessons. This is what I learned from my life. And here's how you can implement it into your life as well. Like the beautiful masculine, feminine, like balance of that as well. Like here are the tools and then here are the lessons. Now it's up to you because I can't make that decision for you. I can't change your life for you. You have to decide to do it for yourself.
You're a young, ambitious founder and you pursued your entrepreneurial dream. Were there any crashes or near-death experiences your startup experienced at all?
I was doing spiritual business coaching at the time, and I had a very successful spiritual business coaching business called Rebel Entrepreneur. And I had tons of cohorts, tons of clients, and I wrote my second book. And during my second book launch, I was traveling a lot, Vegas, LA, New York, Costa Rica, all for the book launch. I had 80-foot Times Square billboards with my face on them with the book title. And I felt like I was on top of the world. But during book launch, I decided to take the entire month off because I was traveling. I was in different time zones. I didn't know what time zone I'll be in, like networking events. I just didn't want to have any calls with my clients. So I closed out all of my client contracts, closed doors for my business for an entire month. I'll return after book tour. I came back from book tour and my business got hacked. I lost my entire business. I lost my website. I lost 30,000 email subscribers. I lost 300 pieces of video content I've ever created. Like going from such a high, like being on 8 Times Square billboards, launching a book, like traveling the world, to like losing everything. I had a complete breakdown. I spent the next 2 months trying to retrieve everything back. It's followed by the next 2 months of having a complete breakdown. Like, why did this happen? What is the purpose of this? Should I even be coaching? Should I even be mentoring? Is this my path? Questioning myself, doubting myself, going into my self-worth. And maybe go back to corporate America. What should I be doing right now? And so I did what I knew how to do best, and that's meditate. I did a 4-hour-long meditation, and during that meditation, Expansion Alchemy came to me. The name, the color, the branding, what teachers, what partners I want on it, the payment structure, like the website copy, literally everything came to me. And I spent the next months like building up Expansion Alchemy. But the message that came coming through for me was collaboration, not competition. We don't have to do things on our own anymore. We don't have to build businesses, because I was a solopreneur at the time. I don't have to build a business by myself anymore. Why not collaborate with people and reach more people? I can't reach everyone just being one person, but together we can reach more people. We can't reach everyone, but we can reach more people. The way I teach might resonate with Peter. The way Peter teaches might resonate with Albert over here. different people resonate with different people. So why not put all of our powers together and reach the masses in a much more beautiful way versus me trying to hustle and do it all by myself? No, collaboration versus competition. And now I don't believe there's such a thing as competition because, like, why not collaborate?
How did your leadership style evolve as the company grew? What were some of the hardest calls you had to make, and how did you navigate keeping your team aligned during those inflection points?
Yes, that's the whole thing that what we do at Expansion Alchemy. We help companies like keep up their work ethics, stay on a positive environment, keep building relationships. That's all we do. That's all we teach. So all of my employees, I give them access to Expansion Alchemy. They come to the classes, keep positive team morale, and just really preach like what we teach, like really fully embody everything that we're teaching within the internal teams as well.
Because many entrepreneurs dream of the success that you've tasted, but the reality is that sustaining a high growth business is challenging. What are some of the biggest struggles you're facing currently, and how do you manage your psychology during a phase of adversity?
Reaching corporations is a very tough sale. That's still our biggest struggle right now. Like the gestation period of corporations going after B2B is much longer than B2C. Like B2C, you're just talking to one person, but talking to a corporation, you're talking to the HR managers, talking to the vice presidents, talking to the presidents. And the gestation period is anywhere from 6 to 9 months, whereas one person, you send them 2 emails and they're like, okay, I like you. I'm going to buy from you. So just having that sanity within myself, it is okay. This takes time, everything in divine timing. I have so much faith in this mission. I know what we're doing is going to help so much people. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. I have full faith that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It'll all get figured out. And then everything just snowballs at that point.
When I was reading your book, The Rebel's Guide to Spirituality, it felt to me like a defiant rallying cry against conventional spiritual dogma, because there's a lot of that around. From what I've read, there was a suggestion, or there are suggestions within it, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't read the whole book, that rejects prescriptive rules and rigid belief systems in favor of a more liberating and personalized approach to one's spirituality. Am I on track here?
Yeah, so spirituality isn't a one size fits all.
It,
One person doesn't work for everyone. And for me, I truly believe with pretty much anything, there's tons of tools out there. Just try them all and see which one you like and which one you resonate with. Because what works for me might not work for Peter, might not work for the next person. Just try them all and stick to something. Find one, two, three that you like, that you love, that truly resonate with who you are as a person and stick to those. Don't be jumping around all the time. Find what works for you and just get really good at those things that work for you. For me, it's meditation, plant medicines, ayahuasca specifically, EFT tapping, and breath work. Those are my go-to tools that I love so much because a lot of them hit into that subconscious mind as well. All of that reprogramming that we have to go through.
were there any limiting beliefs or structures that you see within mainstream spirituality and you are hoping to disrupt and rebel against?
A lot of that has to go to spiritual bypassing for me
Mm.
personally, because I've seen this in someone that's very close to me, like high vibes all the time, love and light all the time. It's yes, but there's such deep wounds that I see in you. And they just wanted to like spiritually bypass it. No, I only look at the light. I don't look at my shadows. I don't look at the darkness. The darkness, we have to go through the darkness to get to the light. We have to look at all of those things that are in your subconscious in order to get through them, to heal them. And then you can be all the love and light that you want to be. But we have to look at those. You can't just be spiritually bypassing and be like love and light all the time. I'm not going to look at like my ancestral trauma or like something that my mother did when I was 3 years old. That doesn't matter. No, that's exactly when it matters.
When I look at your journey, it seems it's been quite an experiential, non-linear process of unfolding and self-discovery. So the question that comes up in me is, how do you strike the balance between providing guidance based on your own experiences while still encouraging an individualized spiritual quest?
Yeah, and this goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, like mentor versus coach. And as a mentor, much prefer the word mentor because I like guiding based off of my own experiences. This is what I learned. And here are the tools. You pick those tools that work for you. These are the tools that worked for me in these circumstances. Okay, let's
Mm.
say I am trying to manifest a relationship and I'm working through like subconscious beliefs around previous relationships that I had, the relationships that I saw my parents growing up as, them getting a divorce, like subconsciously, like I'm afraid of getting a divorce. This is what I'm working through. Not saying that's real, I'm just giving an example. And okay, here are the tools for subconscious reprogramming. I'm going to use EFT tapping, I'm going to use breath work. These are the tools that work for me. Here they are, you figure out which ones work for you. And let's do all of them. Let's see. Maybe you need an EFT tapping. Maybe you need a deep subconscious programming versus via breath work. Maybe you need plant medicines. Maybe you need X, Y, and Z, whatever. I'm guiding you. Here is what worked for me. You figure out which ones resonate with your soul, that ring true to your authentic code within yourself. And this is how we'll work through it within yourself.
It's like food, isn't it? Everybody has a very different propensity towards certain foods. Your soul is organized and propelled to the nutrition that you actually need at the time that you need it. I think the thing with tools, there is a thing called the tool shed analogy. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I
And the
don't think
tool
so.
shed analogy is that you've got your shed, your workshop with your tools in the backyard or in the garage or wherever it may be. You pick the tool up and you use the tool and you put it back. That is very different from embodiment of a tool, because when you embody something, it means your cognition has processed what you've embodied. And if you
Mm,
embody it, that's not a pick up and put down. That's just something that you can utilize as and when needed. It's always there. The issues I see when people talk about tools, it's have they embodied those tools? Like you
mm.
alluded to, are they practicing it? Are they building the consistency, the density? Because it's that density that gives them their trajectory. When you practice something over and over, it becomes a living part of you. The
You
content
embody it.
is you embody
Mhm.
it. Exactly. You process it, you embody it. So then that can come forward as a natural radiation from you because you've got the gravitational, the grounding of it. So in a sense, it's that you get on the frequency of it because frequency will beat chemistry every time. I've heard it said, and I don't want to be disparaging, but as a self-proclaimed millennial manifester, you belong to a generation that tends to be branded as highly individualistic and anti-dogmatic. Yet spirituality often demands some degree of surrender to what we may call a higher power or universal intelligence. How does your book reconcile this seeming paradox of ambitious individualism with a spiritual surrender and transcendence of the ego? What boundaries do you draw between healthy self empowerment and unhealthy egotistical entrapment?
I have such a beautiful and deep connection to many higher powers, to my higher self, to God, and to spirits, to angels, to my dietas from the jungle, like many higher powers. I have such a deep belief, core deep belief in me that it isn't just me at the end of the day. It isn't just humans. There is something much higher than me, whether God, universe, love, whatever you want to call it. For me, it's God. I believe in God that rules my entire day. Every single day, I have full faith that I am guided and I am supported by these higher spiritual beings, that everything is going to be okay. But because I know that I am guided, I am supported, I can fully step into who I am as a person because I am guided and I am supported. I can fully
Mm,
be myself. I can live in my authentic self because God wants me to succeed. God wants me to have everything that I want. And that's not coming from an egotistical way because I fully surrender everything that I do to God, but I can fully be myself because he wants me to be successful. Why not? He wants all of his children to be successful. I know that because I fully believe it and I fully embody that.
beautiful. That's so well said. And I really feel that from you. I feel that beaconing out of you, that transmission, and the fact that you are authentic as an agency of amplification for those things. And this has been a really powerful and inspiring conversation. And I feel we've scratched the surface of your life from your humble beginnings as a Polish immigrant to the immense challenges of poverty and family turmoil and profound betrayal. Your story is one of remarkable resilience and perseverance in the face of adversity, yet you refused to let those experiences embitter you. And instead, you forged a path of radical self discovery, drawing wisdom from ancient modalities and plant medicine traditions to become a true spiritual leader. That's how I see you for our modern age. And your ability to alchemize pain into purpose and marry an entrepreneurial mindset with authentic spiritual principles is incredibly inspiring. And to me, you're a living testament that no matter how dire the circumstances are, your message is we all possess the inner fortitude to transcend the cycles of negativity and trauma to manifest the life that we aspire to. But as with any aspiration, it needs to be operationalized as well. Do you have any passing words, and where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for all of that, Peter. Ooh, that was great. You guys can find me at Ania Halama pretty much everywhere on social media. My website, aniahalama.com, and then Expansion Alchemy, and that's expansion with an X, not an EX. And I'm sure everything will be linked in the show notes.
I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your vulnerability and your insights and your contagious zest for awakening humanity to its highest potential. I feel the living fire in you. And I think for those listening who resonated with Annie's messages, I highly encourage you to pick up her book, Rebel's Guide to Spirituality, and explore her offerings at expansionalchemy.com. Annie's a living embodiment that it's possible to blend spiritual principles with pragmatic business sense in a deeply impactful way. But before we close out, I just want to bring you back for one last segment, which I call Soul Spotlight. So I'm going to ask you a few fun, insightful questions that can sometimes reveal an unexpected window into your essence. Are you game?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So if you could infinitely stretch one moment for from your life to make it last forever, which moment would it be and why?
The first moment that I drank ayahuasca, because that forever changed the trajectory of my life. It made me who I am today, and I have infinite amount of gratitude for that exact moment.
What's a simple everyday activity like washing dishes or folding laundry where you find yourself most easily slipping into a state of presence and mindfulness?
Going on walks. I really enjoy walking. There's a meme where it's okay, we all have that one friend that walks from Texas to New York. And yep, that's me. I love walking. I don't care how far I'm going. I see a whole bunch of different stuff and I put myself in that like presence, in that meditation state. Like meditation is not sitting on top of a mountain going for hours. For me, like sometimes meditation is going on a walk and just clearing the mind and being present.
If you had to nominate one quality about yourself to be permanently emblazoned on your logo or coat of arms, what would that quality be and why?
happiness because we can all shine a little bit more happiness. And I feel like happiness fully exudes me. I am embodiment of happiness. And it would exude from my logo as well. And people just would see the radiation of happiness.
Beautiful. And do you have any passing messages at all?
There is no one size fits all to spirituality, as we talked about. Find what works for you, find what rings with your soul, what resonates with your soul, and try them all, whether it's plant medicines, breath work, EFT tapping, Reiki, meditation, whatever. Find the tools that work for you because there's something out there for everyone.
Beautiful. And what's been your experience today on the podcast?
Oh, that's been great. So much fun diving into. I've changed the way that I present myself because my book is just one part of me. My childhood is one part of me. That is not who I am anymore. And I really loved the questions that really made me think in a way that I haven't been asked before, which I had a lot of fun with.
Excellent. That's the whole idea. And I do appreciate that early years is not who you are now, but I just thought it was important to draw out your origin story so that we can see where you are today. Because history is important if you can learn from it and you can align to what your present is and then what the trajectory is of your future. And that only comes about through consistency, as we've talked about. And I really salute what you're doing in the world. I think you're going to go really far. To me, you're a visionary and you're a pioneer. And like I say, is that if you want to spot a pioneer, look for the arrows in their back.
There's tons of them. Thank you so much, Peter. This was so much fun.
You're most welcome. Well, if you're up to anything, you want to come back on the show at any time and talk
That'd be
further,
great.
maybe get a deeper penetration into plant medicine or into expansion alchemy,
Yeah,
we can focus and get an optimal grip on that
perfect.
particular subject.
That
Okay.
would be great. I would love that. Thank you, Peter.
You're most welcome. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Ciao.